Congress is bracing for a showdown this week over President Trump's authority to wage war. It comes after the U.S. and Israel launched strikes on Iran over the weekend that killed the country's supreme leader and has thrown the region into even more turmoil. Jesse Burns, senior editor here at The Hill, joins us to discuss. Hey, Jesse. So, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine has introduced a war powers resolution to end this military action, largely symbolic. President Trump would almost certainly veto it if it came to his desk. But I think it will be interesting to see how many Republicans cross party lines to join him. Probably a given that Rand Paul, Kentucky Republican senator, will be with Democrats on this. Do you think there will be other Republicans who vote along with Democrats?
There might be a couple others. Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski are two of the names that we're watching right now who have yet to indicate how they're going to vote on this. But even if it were to pass, as you mentioned, Drew, it has no chance of actually becoming law. President Trump would be sure to veto this, and there is not a supermajority in the chambers of Congress to actually override a presidential veto. However, these bills, both the one in the Senate as well as the one in the House that is expected to come up later this week, are helping to shape some of the early debate around President Trump's attacks on Iran, as well as pushing the White House over its strategy long term, how it plans to withdraw U.S. forces, how long it plans to be engaged in Iran, and as well as pushing the administration for its strategy over dealing with some of the fallout that we're already seeing in the Middle East.
Do you sense that this is a difficult vote for Republicans? I'm thinking especially from the non-interventionist wing of the Republican Party that has become a powerful faction in the Trump years.
Largely, Republicans have supported this, and we've even seen, interestingly, some Senate Democrats come out and support the administration for taking down the supreme leader of Iran, who has ruled for decades, really with an iron fist. And so at the same time, they're questioning the White House's strategy going forward. But there are certainly elements of this that are bipartisan in the sense of Senate Democrats agree with Republicans at large that the regime in Iran has ruled in a way that they did not support. Obviously, they have condemned for years, and they did want to see a change. Now, how that change is going to impact the U.S. forces, already several U.S. soldiers have been killed and several more injured in this. Senate Democrats and Republicans do want answers from the White House moving forward on how they're going to limit some of this fallout.
Do you think political pressure on Republicans could mount if the cost in blood and treasure continues to rise?
Well, I think you're definitely going to see continued scrutiny from both parties. This obviously broad operation in Iran was different from the previous operation that we saw in Venezuela with the removal of Nicolas Maduro. That operation was widely scrutinized and condemned by congressional Democrats because the administration provided no advance warning. For this operation in Iran, the Trump administration has provided some briefings to, or at least a heads up to congressional leaders as it was underway. They have also are expected to be briefing lawmakers more fully here in the next coming hours. And so that is certainly something that is welcome news for Democrats, but I think you're going to continue to see them pressing the White House for more details, especially over what its plans are in Iran. If the plan is for regime change, how is the administration actually trying to go about that, given the fact that these widespread strikes have apparently taken out many in high levels of the Iranian regime, and there's really no clear path forward on who might actually take over leadership of Iran moving forward.
Let's talk about a little bit more about Democrats in the Senate. You have Pennsylvania Democrat John Fetterman. He's indicated that he won't back efforts to rein in the president here. Is he on an island among Democrats? And do you see the possibility of political pressure being put on Democrats who right now could be seen as opposing the administration at a time when American troops are in harm's way? You also have this DHS issue where there's a partial government shutdown. The agency isn't receiving funding at a time when there could be dangerous threats to the American homeland.
Well, we have no indication that other Democrats are going to get in line with Fetterman in pushing back on this war powers effort, but we have seen people like Jeanne Shaheen from New Hampshire, Mark Kelly from Arizona, who have praised the administration for taking out the Iranian supreme leader, even while they are pushing for some more details from the White House. And it's worth noting there are some Democrats, as well as in the House, who have actually pushed back on this effort. Jared Moskowitz from Florida. We've seen others who have actually pushed back on this push for war powers. Josh Gottheimer in New Jersey is another Democrat who, even before this Iranian operation was underway, said that they did not want to limit Trump's powers when it comes to going after Iran in particular. And you'll remember, Drew, last summer, the Senate pushed forward after Operation Midnight Hammer this effort to try to rein in Trump on Iran, and Fetterman really was kind of on an island back then. So it remains to be seen if this much more broad operation is actually going to move the needle when it comes to Senate Democrats. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of Democrats just want to kind of help shape this debate, even if it doesn't actually rein in Trump's powers.
Yeah, you talked about the House. There is a separate war powers resolution introduced by Representatives Thomas Massie, Republican, Ro Khanna, Democrat. Do you think that there might be more crossover voting in the House compared to what we expect to see in the Senate?
I think so. I think you're going to see several House Democrats come and support the Republican position on this, pushing back. There is, this contingent of moderate House Democrats who are very supportive of Israel, very supportive of trying to, strengthen the Israeli government's hand when it comes to Iran, and of course the U.S. and Israel working in lockstep when it comes to carrying out these strikes in Iran and trying to bring about regime change there. And so certainly there is this degree of support for what the Trump administration is trying to do. And so we'll see, later this week when that resolution comes up, how much support it actually receives. Right now, only a couple of Republicans, you mentioned Thomas Massie, Warren Davidson from Ohio is the only other Republican at the moment that we're watching to potentially support that. So largely following along party lines, at least in terms of actually trying to support this or not.
The notion that Congress is, kind of an afterthought when it comes to a conflict that has already resulted in American troops being killed, many would argue it's another example of the diminishing role of Congress. What do you make of that accusation that Congress should be playing more of a forward role in approving this type of military conduct?
Well, we've seen throughout Trump's return to office this broad debate in Washington over the separation of powers and the strengthened power of the executive branch on a litany of issues. And we've seen that in terms of military engagements, this is just one of numerous topics where lawmakers in Congress, especially Democrats, are saying that Congress is really giving up its hand to the executive branch and to the president. The flip side of that, you are seeing Republicans come forward and push back, saying, Trump did give notification to members of Congress under the War Powers Act. The administration is limited in terms of how long the U.S. can be engaged in a foreign military operation before trying to secure some type of authorization for use of military force. And so, we're still early days of this. On day 3 of this, certainly, there is some leeway here in terms of what the administration can do. But you're already seeing these, calls for for Congress to reassert its authority and to exert its authority, really, when it comes to war powers and really pushing the administration on how long it plans to have this operation carry on. If it's weeks, potentially that certainly strengthens the White House hand. But if it looks like it's going to carry on beyond that, then I think you're going to see some rising calls from Republicans for some type of reining in of the president's authority.
All right, a continuing story that we will keep following, but for now, we'll leave it at that. Jesse Burns, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.